Hello and welcome to another episode of Movie Thoughts. I am your host, Dominic Tartamella, and welcome back again. It's Thursday night. It's not just any Thursday, okay? I'm getting married in a couple days. I brought this up in the podcast. My anxiety, all the wedding jitters, they're all there. They're starting to rise to the surface. But all good things. It's also Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Star Wars Days, a couple of Star Wars. Now there's like 2 Star Wars Days, right? Because there's May the 4th, which is the traditional Star Wars Day. And then there's the 6th, which happens to be the day I'm getting married on. It's Revenge of the Sith. 6th. Revenge of the Sith kind of homage. But it's Star Wars Day. Did you watch Star Wars? Did you delve into it? Last episode I was talking about the fact that I saw Return of the Jedi on the big screen, and that was a lot of fun. I didn't watch any Star Wars today. As of now, it's 8:20 p.m. New York time when I'm recording this, and I did not watch any Star Wars. But you could always slip in a Star Wars. Maybe I will watch something. But then you know what it is with Star Wars? It's a chain reaction. Once I watch one, it's like I might just fucking roll into the rest of them. That's kind of when I watched Return of the Jedi the other day, I kind of got in the mood to like, all right, I think I got to do this soon. But now I'm going away next week, so I don't want to I want to have them fresh in my head when I record the podcast. I mean, I could just watch them again. I could watch them now and then watch them again when I get back. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so today's Star Wars Day. Didn't do any real Star Wars festivities. They had some sales on video games and stuff, toys and shit like that. There was really nothing I saw that really caught the eyes. That new Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel's out, right? Right, because this one's called Jedi Survivor. It's called this one, and I to be honest, I liked the first one. I'm actually playing it again right now because I never completed it. I kind of fell off with it. So before I even fucking go to the store and think about buying that second one, I'm trying to finish the first one. So maybe that'll be my Star Wars, just playing that game, my Star Wars Day. Another fucking fun Star Wars game, Lego Star Wars. That shit's fucking fun. And it goes through all the movies. That's on sale, I think, today too. But speaking of stars, let's talk about Star-Lord, right? I'm fucking king of the segues. Because today we are talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. A long-awaited end to this trilogy. For now. I mean, I think at some point there'll be some kind of continuation, right? We'll see Guardians. The Guardians may be seen again. I'm going to stay pretty light with spoilers unless I announce, that I'm going to get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, you could listen to this. I'll be light on that. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the stronger, Marvel franchises, right? I still remember when Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was coming out. Now, I'm a comic book fan. I'll talk about comic books on here. I go on and off with them. I read them for fucking a few months, or anytime I try to keep up with storylines, I do it for a few months and then I fall off. And then I'm more of a graphic novel guy. Or a storyline, a story arc, I'll just read them. And then physically, I don't know if fucking any listeners collect comics and stuff, but I've delved into it, right? When I was a kid, I used to get comics, single issues, with the board and the plastic and the board and stuff like that. And as I got older, then I started getting into just graphic novels and buying those. But comic collecting, because they come out so often, you just fill those boxes. If you get the big boxes and fill them, you fill them so quick. And I was doing it a couple of years ago. I was getting into it again. I was buying a lot. And I was reading a lot of different storylines. And it's my God, you just fill up a box so quick. And then it's you just sit on it. Unless something's worth money, an issue, you just sit on it. And it kind of goes to waste. I'm a big fan of physical stuff. I've obviously talked about physical media on here before, Blu-rays and my love of all that shit. And I'm kind of like that with other stuff too, like books and comic books. But as time goes on, it just, becomes more feasible to get digital copies. I mean, books especially like these giant books. I used to read a lot of Stephen King books, and a giant fucking novel, if you have it and you're reading it on a Kindle versus, having that 1,000-page book in your hands, fucking just lighter on you, physically. It's easier to read that book. And then there's audiobooks, but with comics, there's obviously the Comixology app if you're a fan, and you could read, comics right on your phone or your iPad or your computer. And especially if you got like an iPad, I mean, on the phone it looks pretty fucking good too, but like, it's just cool to read comics on there. And then you don't have to worry about like, stacking boxes and boxes of comics. But my point when I get into my comic rant is that Guardians of the Galaxy was a comic I had heard of. I'm not like this expert on comics. I wouldn't consider myself. I have a good amount of, knowledge. But Guardians was something that I never read. And when the movie was coming out, the original Volume 1 film, I thought the trailer kind of looked, I'll be honest. I thought it was one of those movies. I was like, all right, I think this is going to be, at that point, Marvel was pretty, doing pretty fucking good. This is post-Avengers, the first Avengers. Was it post-Age of Ultron? I don't remember. It might have been right before. But when this movie came out, or was coming out, it was kind of like, all right, this is like the first time they're kind of like venturing into this, characters that are really not known. It looked like a very different movie, and the trailer's kind of goofy, and it was kind of like, I didn't really think the movie was going to be good. I honestly thought, like, it's going to be all right. I couldn't imagine it, being the success that it ended up being for Marvel. And it's a big milestone, really, because to take, that risk on those unknown characters and make, like, a good movie out of that and a successful movie, it started the trend of, like, okay, now Marvel could do other stuff. They could delve out there. And sometimes, it's arguments there that maybe they've delved out there too far now and not all the movies are good, but this led to other movies like Ant-Man introducing other kind of characters and stuff, and shit, it was a good movie. Guardians 1 was good. James Gunn obviously directed it. The full cast, great. Fucking, Vin Diesel, I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Could you imagine this guy gets paid millions of dollars to say I am Groot over and over again? It makes me, when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes earlier to go to work, I'm like, wow, this guy's getting paid millions of dollars to say I am Groot. I don't know. It's got to be some kind of change, right? It's got to be something better. We're living in that universe where Vin Diesel's making that kind of money for doing that. I mean, let's not even talk about his other movies with his acting, but whatever. Anyway, so Guardians comes out. It's a hit, smash hit, Volume 1. A lot of fun, kind of like, dare I say, a newer generation's kind of like Star Wars, right? A space fucking fun-filled space action movie. Great characters, as I said, great cast. Rocket fucking Raccoon, Groot, Gamora, Star-Lord, of course, fucking Drax, but played by Batista, which Batista is, and I've said it on this podcast. Probably said it on this podcast. I think he's a good fucking actor, man. I mean, I talked about it when I talked about that movie, Knock at the Cabin, which you can go back and listen to that. That was a little while ago. But he's a good actor, and he's a guy who, like, he's not the box office success that, like, The Rock is, but, like, he's a better actor than The Rock, and she's versatile, especially in that movie, and seeing him in, like, comedies like this where he plays this fucking ridiculous character and he hits all those humorous points. He was great in Blade Runner 2049 as well, in the opening scene, and he's good. But Guardians, successful. Guardians Volume 2 comes out, ups the ante. Good. I liked Guardians Volume 2. I personally think it's one of the better Marvel sequels, as far as like the separate movies, the not the Avengers and stuff like that. It's one of the better sequels, I think. It brings something to the table. It's a little inconsistent. Kurt Russell is the fucking villain in this movie. Spoiler alert for that, but like Kurt Russell's great. I love Kurt Russell. I love all the stuff he's done with John Carpenter over the years, whether it be Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, everything. Love the guy. So it's fun seeing him. He's playing Star-Lord's father, and he's doing it. He's doing it, man. He's doing it. And another thing about these two movies, obviously, that everybody fucking knows, is the soundtrack. The soundtracks. Great movies. Great music, rather. You know, throwbacks, fucking old classic songs that, like, I knew most of them watching these movies, but, you know, just to bring them back and make them relevant again, I have those albums on my Spotify. And I still love listening to them. They're just great albums. So now Volume 3 has been anticipated, right? Because we had a lot of shit happen. You know, I brought this up the other day, too. But, like, after Avengers Endgame, you had, you know, the death of Gamora. You had Thor joining the Guardians. And then you had them pop up in that Thor movie. And just basically the beginning, they show up. And there's some jokes and stuff like that. But they're not in a lot of it. But this is finally the anticipated sequel, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is the end of an era, really. I mean, because one thing, I mean, when the hell did Guardians 1 came out? Guardians 1 probably came out like 2014, 2013. And Guardians 1 came out. James Gunn, as I said, directed both of these movies. And this is a big thing now because now James Gunn's doing this one. This is the final outing for the Guardians. Pretty much a lot of the actors involved, and yet again, not getting into spoilers right now, but like a lot of the actors involved have said they're kind of done. I think Zoe Saldana said that she's done with Gamora after this. Dave Bautista said that he's done with Drax after this. I think Chris Pratt recently said, like, he's done without James Gunn unless there's, like, a story that compels him, which basically means unless there's a big fat fucking check, you know. I like Chris Pratt, you know, but he's getting the checks. If you throw the money at him, listen, guy's a fucking magnet for money. I mean, you gotta give the guy a pat on his fucking back, because whether you like or you hate Chris Pratt, this guy made himself a fucking, I mean, go back to like Parks and Recreation. Those days, you know, him kind of popping up in side movie parts, being all chubby and shit, and, you know, not the fucking A-lister main focus of any of that. And then he goes and he fucking turns into fucking Star-Lord, and now he's got fucking Jurassic World. He's got that franchise, whatever the fuck you feel about that franchise, where it went with the last one, but, you know, he became this fucking A-lister. Now, right now in theaters, now he's got Guardians, and don't forget he's got the #1 movie right now, fucking Mario, that he's doing the voice, which he did a great job. I know a lot of people shit on him and stuff like that, but he did a fun job. He brought his own little spin. It's basically Chris Pratt doing a Brooklyn accent, but it works. But Guardians, you know, this is the end of an era, as I said, because James Gunn is kind of stepping away from Marvel because he's been put in like creative control at DC. However you may feel about that. I like James Gunn. I didn't love his Suicide Squad. I thought it was alright. I thought it was better than the fucking other Suicide Squad, but like it didn't, you know, strike a nerve with me. I like King Shark. I like Sylvester Stallone as King Shark. He's the best part of that for me. And I like John Cena as Peacemaker, which the Peacemaker show is fun as well. So he's been put in charge over there, and he's going to do Superman and all this shit. He's kind of going to reboot the new universe. So his time at Marvel, for now, for the time being, he's parting ways, right, to do his own things. So this movie's got a lot of hype behind it, obviously. The trailers have been selling, you know, the emotion in it. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, who's going to die? Is somebody going to die? People, who do you think's going to die? Is everybody going to die? I don't know. I didn't know what to expect going in. It's 2.5 hours, I think this movie is, and I gotta say, it's got a pretty good pace. Right off the bat, I'll say that. I did, you know, maybe could have been shaved 10, 15 minutes, probably wouldn't have hurt it. But one thing about this movie is, like, we've always heard in the other movies, you know, fucking Rocket is always going crazy when people call him a raccoon, and if people call him, like, a science experiment and shit like that, he's always going nuts, he's got a temper. And a lot of this movie focuses on Rocket. You know, right from the beginning, he's kind of like the main focus. Some shit happens, and then there's a series of flashbacks showing some of the stuff that happened to Rocket and how he became the raccoon we all know and love. So, like, the other characters, they're in it, but their storyline is very Rocket-centric. You know, it focuses on him, it focuses on helping him in certain, solving his problems. But everybody's at the top of their game. I mean, there's a lot of drama in this one. I will say, it's probably been said before, there's a lot of, as far as like the peachy, fun-filled, versions we had in the first Guardians. I mean, there's always been like some sad stuff, obviously, Peter Quill's mother dying, there's been sadness in the other two movies as well, but like, this is definitely the darkest of the three, and there's a lot of genuinely sad stuff in this movie. There's some stuff that's like, I don't know, maybe a little upset, but it's good. You get a good amount of closure for the characters, right? Without spoiling it. By the time the end of the movie comes, you get everybody kind of parting ways, if you will. And, some of them, it's left open. And obviously, if Marvel and Disney and they think of a good idea, they're going to bring them back. I think you'll see these characters to some degree. I can't imagine, you not seeing Star-Lord anymore. Maybe down the road in, an Avengers movie or something like that, you'll see them. But, yeah, this movie's really enjoyable. I thought it was a lot of fun. The soundtrack was good, but it's not as many. As I said, with the other two soundtracks, I kind of knew every fucking song in those soundtracks beforehand. There's some more, back wall stuff on this album. I haven't looked it over. There was obviously some songs I recognized, but there wasn't, they weren't as common as the other two soundtracks. They weren't really hits where everybody knows them. But it's interesting, the choices. There's some even early 2000s stuff in there they throw in there. And, the music is always the guiding force. There's some Beastie Boys in there. That's kind of a light spoiler, but there's Beastie Boys in a final action scene towards the end where it's fucking pretty awesome. And they really show each character really getting their licks in on the villains and stuff like that. The villain, who the fuck plays the villain in this movie? The main villain. Let me look it up. Because he was pretty good. He was a little bit over the top. I mean, I'm going to butcher this guy's name, as I sometimes do on this podcast. Chukwudi Awija, as Herbert Winman, or the High Evolutionary, who's a scientist who kind of, you'll see, but he's kind of responsible for how a rocket came to be. And yeah, he's good. He's a little bit from time to time, he feels a little bit a lot of this film, he's screaming. He's just yelling things. He's and it kind of after a while, you're kind of all right. But he's good. He's an intimidating presence. He also has this, which they do acknowledge at some point, but he's kind of got this RoboCop looking face. As if you've seen him in the trailers, he's fun though. He's hamming it up a little bit. Then you got Will Poulter, as Adam Warlock, who's a character from the comics and stuff like that, and he's good. He's kind of like a bad guy too. His story goes in some other places, but he's fun. He's kind of goofy, and it's kind of humorous, the stuff that he gets himself into. But he's good. He's not a huge part of it. Cosmo the Space Dog. Another fun-filled talking animal with a Russian accent, played by Maria Baklava, who was, I think that was a girl from Borat 2, which Borat 2 sucked. But she was good in Borat 2. But she voices Cosmo. Cosmo's a lot of fun, seeing that character from the comic. You may or may not see Howard the Duck again at some point in this movie. I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You saw him in the end credits of the first one. And then you got Sylvester Stallone reprising a role that he popped in the last one, a smaller role. And listen, I love Stallone. He's doing his thing. He pops up. He's really got a couple of words of dialogue here and there. He's not a big presence in the movie, but it's nice seeing Stallone. Obviously, him and James Gunn have a working relationship now. As I said, he was in Suicide Squad. He was in he popped up in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So it's cool to see him. And, of course, Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother's in there, kind of filling that role of Yondu's role with the whistling fucking thing, right? It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of humor, obviously, which we come to expect in a Guardians film, and I think the balance is good. I really think this is one of the better Marvel movies in a long time. Even better, and I said I didn't hate Ant-Man and stuff like that, and I really haven't hated many of the movies. I mean, Wakanda Forever kind of didn't do it for me. I bashed it on a podcast early on here. I probably should rewatch it, give it another chance, but it was just very fucking long. But we all know the movies lately have been inconsistent. This is one of the better ones, if not the best lately. I mean, it's just the one that it didn't drag much. I was enjoying it. You know, I was laughing. And as I said, the balance, because there's a lot of dark stuff. There's a lot of drama. And they balance the humor well. You know, because the funny parts, you're laughing, whether it's Drax or Star-Lord or whoever is in it. And then with the flip of a switch, you might be teary-eyed maybe. They drop a F-bomb in this movie. Which, I don't even know. I mean, like, listen, Deadpool 3 is coming. And I'm fucking excited. That, like, next to the Flash movie, as I've talked about 40 times on this, Deadpool 3 is, like, my other really anticipated comic book movie. It's probably Flash and Deadpool 3. Because Hugh Jackman's come back as Wolverine. And obviously, listen, we've all thought about it. And it's been word about it. Deadpool's got to be fucking R-rated, right? Those other two movies were R, hard Rs. It has to be R-rated. Fox did those, you know, now Disney bought Fox, and they have to do an R. So, an F-bomb dropped in a Guardians of the Galaxy, not really something I expected. I remember hearing about it. I mean, light spoilers. It's in like a very... It's so funny because I had read that it was like, oh, there's an F-bomb, and I kind of didn't give a fuck either way. Cursing. But when I seen it in the movie, it was kind of like, wasn't forced, but it was definitely like unnecessary. It didn't really, you know, add to the joke, whatever was being said. But it's, you know, I guess it's their way of kind of like, they gotta like ease into it, right? All right, they dropped an F-bomb in one of the more family-friendly, Marvel franchises. So maybe, you know, they're going to ease into it. I mean, Deadpool 3 is going to make its fucking money. You have to make that R. It's not going to hurt it. So it has to be done. But maybe the F-bomb wasn't necessary in this movie. I don't mind, because I curse every 5 minutes, as you see. So I don't mind. But yeah, good movie, enjoyable. I think I'm going to get into some spoilers right now. So if you're still listening, I recommend seeing this movie. It's definitely one of the better Marvel movies lately. It's a good conclusion to the Guardians trilogy, if this is the last one for now. And it's a nice way of these characters kind of finishing it off, right? If everybody does go their own way and do other movies and not really come back to this for a while, it's a good way to end. But let's get into spoilers. So this movie starts, and right from the fucking get-go, we have Rocket getting fucked up by Adam Warlock and ending up in like a coma, right? And then we have these flashbacks of Rocket's past, and oh my god. So like, they gotta ease into it, and they do it in such a good way, you know. The storyline, the regular storyline's continuing, and the way that they juggle it with the flashbacks, it's so smooth. It's good. And you're seeing a lot of, you know, Rocket. He gets created, basically. He gets altered or whatever the hell. And then he's got these little friends, right, that he's in a prison with. There's God. There's one called Teefs, who's an altered walrus. Then he has like an otter friend named Lila. Then he's got a bunny friend. And it's like, they keep showing the flashbacks. And they're going into, you know, their friends. And they're all like, you know, the villain is, he's trying to, you know, alter species, basically, and build a better society. So Rocket, it somehow figures out what's lacking in his, creations and why they're coming out like hostile and stuff. So this guy kind of like has a grudge against his creation if he can't figure out why Rocket knows and he doesn't. You know, he created this thing. And he goes and he kills all the fucking animals, his friends. He kills Rocket's friends. Like, literally, like, and I was saying in my head, I was like, all right, they're creating this relationship. They're, you know, you're really making you sympathize with these characters. And, you know, knowing especially Marvel's, you know, track record and Disney being the parent company, it's like, all right, you know, maybe at the end of this movie, he's going to reunite with them. You know, they got to get away, right? And then they fucking blow the otter away. And then I'm like, oh no. Like, the otter, like, falls down and dies. And then you're like, all right, God, don't do this to me. They got Teefs, the walrus, and they got the bunny. And, like, Rocket freaks out, starts shooting them all. And then he turns around and they're dead. And I was just, you want to talk about, like, gut punch? You want to talk about, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not emotionally stable that I'm watching, you know, three CGI characters die and another CGI character react to it. And I'm getting teary-eyed. I got teary-eyed in this movie. My fiance had to hand me a napkin because I had tears. Because this shit killed me. This shit killed me because they're like all like talking about, oh, we get out, we're going to be friends, and we're going to go on adventures, whatever the fuck they're saying. And then they wipe them all out. And it's like, why did you just do this to me? You just ripped out my heart. But it was necessary. You know, in hindsight, it was fucking necessary because Rocket has always been, you know, insane and crazy and flies off the hinge, and he's fucking like, I'm not a fucking experiment, I'm not a raccoon. He's fucking, you know, he's always freaking out. He's got Groot is obviously his good friend, but he's always been like a very hard exterior. Now you see why he's a hard exterior. You see why he's a hothead. Because his friends got wiped out. You know, his friends got killed in front of him. He was kind of to blame. And shit, that adds depth. That is like that is fucking, I gotta say, James Gunn and company, great job on this movie. Because if you could make a grown man start to tear up with CGI animals that don't exist, then you've done something right. You got emotion. You got the emotion. You know, as I said, you put it in there in the right way. You planted it. You built up to it, and then you fucking broke my heart. And I guess that's the power of film, right? That's the power of movies. That's cinema. You know, we've all heard the thing. Martin Scorsese, he's not a big fan of Marvel movies and stuff like that. And he said, oh, you know, they're thrill rides. And I agree with him to a degree. I do. There's definitely some Marvel movies that fall into that category. And, you know, but there's fucking emotion. There's emotion to be found in these movies. As we said, the emotion in the Guardians, it's always been there with Peter and his mother and even his father and the relationship he had with him in the second one. And now this, with Rocket giving him this backstory, this fucking heartbreaking backstory. Oh my God. Some people aren't going to like it. Some people are going to go into this movie and they're going to be expecting the feel-good, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy we've had in the past. And they're going to, right from the beginning of the movie, when Rocket like ends up in the fucking coma, they're going to be like, shit, what the fuck? This took a dark spin. Now, as dark as it did get there, I was surprised that later on they didn't kill any other characters. Because I wasn't one of these people that was like, oh, they're going to fucking wipe out everybody. They're going to kill this one, that one. I thought a couple would die, though. I thought like Drax was dead. I thought Drax would, like, sacrifice himself, because you really think about it, and going back to Drax's character, like, you know, he lost his wife, he lost his kid, so he doesn't really have anything to live for other than these people. So him sacrificing himself, I was kind of expecting it, but it doesn't happen, which I was kind of glad. I mean, I didn't want to, after that animal stuff that fucked me up, I didn't want to see anybody else die. I don't know if I could handle it. I'm hanging on by a thread mentally. I don't know if somebody else would have died. Anybody else would have died. Then at one point you think, you know, Peter Quill might bite the bullet, but he doesn't. And I was kind of relieved. I was kind of relieved they didn't kill anybody else. But a lot of sadness in this movie. Dark. Like I said, goes to dark places. Not going to really be like, the kids aren't going to like this one, I don't think. I think they're going to get a little fucked up when the walrus gets shot to death. I think they're going to get, when Teefs get shot to death. If I got fucked up, the kids are going to get fucked up. It's going to be one of the movies where kids see it when they're young and they're scarred for life. You know, it's one of those movies like when you're a kid and you see a movie like My Girl. You ever see My Girl? Macaulay Culkin and that other girl and Jamie Lee Curtis and Dan Aykroyd's in it. Yeah, My Girl, I seen that as a kid. That fucked me up. And if you know, I'm not going to get the spoilers of My Girl because I'm not going to spoil My Girl for anybody who hasn't seen it. But go watch that film. There's My Girl 2 as well. Not really that great of a movie, but My Girl 1, oh my God, what they do to you in that movie. But that anxiety lives with me still to today. So there's going to be kids from this generation that watch this movie, and they're going to be fucked up from the otter thing. It's kind of like the horse dying and Never-Ending Story and shit like that. It's just, this stuff lives on in your brain. What about that cartoon? What is he, a boot? That in Roger Rabbit that they kill, they drop in that cartoon acid. That fucks me up, right? I don't know. I got issues. Maybe I got to go to therapy. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Fun movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I recommend it. Definitely. I mean, if you stuck around with the spoilers, then, the spoilers that I just had to talk about. But yeah, what's next? I don't know. I mean, Marvel, it's funny because, it's just so inconsistent now. It's just so inconsistent. Listen, you could be a Marvel apologist and stuff like that, but you can't sit there and tell me these movies are all of the same quality anymore. And it kind of makes me less excited for certain things. Even that Secret Wars show, it looks cool, but I'm kind of all right, I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out. Then they played the Marvels trailer, which is Captain Marvel, that Rambo girl, and Miss Marvel, and it looks all right. I don't know. It doesn't look like something I really need to see. I'll see it, I'm sure, at some point, but it looks all right. It's just funny how we've gotten to this point now where Marvel used to be on on the top of their game, and now it's a hit, a miss, a lukewarm effort. But this one, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, one of the better ones. Great performances from the whole cast. Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel even doing his I Am Groot, right? Bradley Cooper. Everybody was good in it. And the new additions as well. So definitely check it out. I think it's a good one. And I think they took some risks. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if Marvel wanted him to go in this direction. I guess they gave him, the creative control that he wanted, James Gunn, to tell the story that he wanted to. So I commend them for that. It's a little bit darker though, and maybe the kids aren't going to like it. And maybe some people, that's the thing, some people need to have a rainbow happy ending. They go to the movies and they can't. I mean, it's nice to see the happy stuff on screen, but sometimes you need the emotional gut punch of watching CGI animals get shot to death. You need it. And then you could relate to the raccoon just that much more. But that's it. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If this is the first time you're listening, welcome. This is the Movie Thoughts Podcast. This is what I do. Lately, I did Evil Dead Rise. I talked about Return of the Jedi. I talked about Beau is Afraid, which was a fucking nightmare. I talked about Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy. Those are just some of the recent episodes, and as I said, you could go way back and listen to me rant and rave about Wakanda Forever, because I didn't like it. Some other movies here and there. Check them out. Check me out on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Dom Solo Reels. And if you like the podcast, subscribe and rate and review and all that shit. I'm on Spotify, iTunes, and all that fun stuff. And enjoy the rest of your Star Wars day. There might be a bonus episode up. I don't know. I got some time left, so there might be maybe a little bonus episode I might drop tomorrow. But then I'm gone for a week, so I will vanish. But thanks for listening, and have a good night.